Hello again, my friends, and welcome to another video. Right now, I want to show you, we're up to shipment number 17 of the Eaglemoss Build the U.S.S. Enterprise D series. And I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous about this shipment. Again, this is shipment 17. Let me show you how the box came. I'm hoping that everything is in it and that everything is intact. So let's just take it over to the desk and we'll have a look. All right. Let's try to get this mess open. Alright, let's see. This is what we're supposed to be getting. Magazine 17. And the issues 63, 64, 65, and 66. This part. Ooh, look at that. We've got the nacelle pylons, and we got the secondary hull, part of the frame, that are going to hold the nacelles on. Again, don't worry, we're going to go through all of these, but I just want to give you a quick little preview of what's coming up. So let's put that aside. And let's see, this one is 66. Let's see, what is that? Looks like more phaser arrays. The backings, we got windows, and looks like we've got the nacelle pylon right there. And we've got another piece of the hull that's going to go underneath the primary hull. Let's see, we've got 65. We've got more windows, and you can tell it's going to go on the bottom because the windows are longer than they are on top. And look, we've got the other back, the other side of the nacelle pylon. And we've got windows. And finally, we've got 63. We got more windows. And then the looks like the phaser array that's going to go underneath the nacelle pylons. You get the backings, and we have another piece of the hull. All right. So there should be, we got the magazine. And all in all, it's a little bit damaged, but considering what the box looked like, I'm grateful that I got everything and it's relatively intact. Okay. So this is shipment number 17. You can see a nice picture of the model. And let's start off within this issue. You ship parts, so we got the parts list, and then we go into the episode guide. Best of Both Worlds, that's a really cool episode. The episode guides coming up, and we've got the information for this issue. All right, let's start with the parts list. 63, you can see we've got part of the skin for the bottom of the primary hull. We get the parts, and here's the official parts list. Stage 64 is pretty basic. We got the phaser array. We've got the frame for the secondary hull that's going to have the nacelles on, the nacelle pylons. And that's a relatively short parts list for that section, for that stage. We got stage 65. You can see we've got, looks like a backing, and we've got the skin of the hull. We've got windows, we got 2 sets of lights, and we've got the skin for the nacelle pylon. You can see the parts list. Stage 66, we got more of the hull and windows, and we have the other side of the nacelle pylon. And here's a list for that. So moving right along, you can see what we're going to do is what we left off last time with shipment 16. We had put these in, these little tubes that are going to anchor something. And now we're going to put in 2 more. And you can see the sections that we're going to be working on in this stage. They're highlighted in yellow. So it's relatively straightforward. And remember, we put the circuit board in. Going on to step B, we've got 1 escape pod, and we've got 5 windows. And we're going to put the backings on, held in place with AM screws. And there's going to be no lights at all for this section. So going over to stage 64 assembly now. Get to grips with the section spanning nacelle pylon skeleton before completing the deck panel you began in the previous stage. You can see part A. Those little pieces are going to go in there. You can see where we're going to be working. At the bottom of the back of the secondary hull. And over here, underneath the primary hull. So again, with this one, you can see we're going to put the phaser arrays on. And the screws, CP screws are going to go into that one to hold the phaser array on. Remember, this is the one that we had worked previously. That's still that one. So let's see. You can see the section of stage 65, how the bottom of the primary hull is starting to grow. And we're going to start adding windows now. And you can see we're going to put 1 screw in place into the backing because we're going to put lights in this. Speaking of the lights, we move on to step B. You can see all the lights that should be there. We're going to put them into the circuit board. And then we're going to put them in to the windows, well, to light the windows. And the last step, you can see how you're going to angle it in. So once it's just put in place like that, we're going to leave it. And now we're going to take the deck panel assembly and we're going to slot it in. And we're actually going to put it in place with FM screws. And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to tell from the instructions, but it's going to kind of go underneath and slot into place to hold it. You can see because there are only screws going in on one side. And it's from where we put the first section. We anchored it down well with all kinds of screws. There was a lot of screws in it. I think there was like 8 or 10. And now we're going to just kind of undercut, go right underneath and screw down the right side of the panels. And my favorite part, we get to test. Now we move on to stage 66. Assemble and fit a spring-loaded section of the port nacelle pylon before constructing the next deck panel for the lower saucer. Love it. You can see how it's going to be spring loaded. It's going to hold it in place. That's really cool. She's starting to take shape. You can see step B, we're putting the sides on. And those are going to be held in place with, looks like BP screws. And then 2 more BP screws are going to go into the top of it. Moving on to step C, we got another panel that we're going to work on, and there are going to be no lights in it. You can see the backings that are going to go on with AM screws. And we're going to put the phaser array on, and that's going to be held in place with CP screws. And that's everything for the build. We're going right to the episode guide, which is one of my favorite parts. We've got the best of both worlds, and you can see Mr. Data as he has made contact with Captain Picard, but he was assimilated by the Borg, so he became Locutus. This is episode 4.1, premiered September 24th of 1990. When a Borg cube carrying an assimilated Captain Picard destroys the Federation's best defense, the Enterprise under Captain Riker becomes Earth's last hope for survival. Remember, Commander Riker was elevated to the status of captain and given the Enterprise by the Admiral. Oh, I'm offhand, I don't remember the Admiral that elevated him to captaincy, but if I would have been Riker, I wouldn't have been in a hurry to get Captain Picard back, only because I would have had the Enterprise as mine, and that's what Commander Riker always wanted. You can see on the bottom the photo. The stunt performer John Nowak spent 4 hours being turned into Locutus for this episode, but the planned stunt sequence was never filmed. That may be their Achilles heel, Captain, their interdependency, Dr. Beverly Crusher. Of course, talking about the Borg, where they need to be in communication with each other constantly. Definitely, there is no privacy with the Borg Collective. You can see the attachments that were going to go for Captain Picard. Senior illustrator and technical consultant Rick Sternbach's concepts for Locutus's Borg arm included the possibility of Captain Picard could be left with subtly changed right hand to indicate that he had lost his original limb. But Captain Picard has no ill effects of being assimilated. Not that we can see anyway. Whereas, 7 of 9 has that, the implants that are still on the side of her left eye, and she has the pieces on her hand as well. Captain Picard doesn't have anything to remind him, like I said, that you could see anyway. The fight does not go well, Enterprise. Admiral Hansen, he's the one that elevated Commander Riker to captain and gave him the Enterprise. And I love these little tidbits too. You can see the Rick Sternbach's close-up design of Locutus's mechanical arm specifies the full functionality that had to be built into a working and wearable prop. The Borg are they're just so cool. Battle of the Kit Bashes. Look at that. Let's see. Model makers Greg Jean and Dana White Shea pose with the 3 nacelle Niagara class and the single nacelle Freedom class filming miniatures. Remember, they had the models when they were fighting the Borg, and there were a lot of ships that were disabled or destroyed by the Borg cube. The next episode is Family. This unique episode is the closest Star Trek The Next Generation gets to becoming a serial, but it nearly included an emergency of the week as well. This is episode 4.2 and premiered October 1st, 1990. After his ordeal with the Borg, Picard reconnects with his family on Earth and considers a career outside of Starfleet. Of course, the Picards own a winery, and we go into that more in Star Trek Picard. Samantha, Agar, and Patrick Stewart on the location of Encino, California. Agar is one of 2 Oscar-nominated actors to appear in Family, the other being Theodore Bickel as Worf's adopted father, Sergei Rashenko. Remember, Mr. Worf was adopted by Earth parents. Why did you come back, Jean-Luc? Robert Picard, his brother that was none too happy to see him. Set designer Joseph Hodges planned for the Picard family graveyard, a location that does not appear in the finished episode. I was wondering, I don't remember any, I don't even think in Picard they show a graveyard. But in Star Trek Picard, we do see a lot of the family winery, right down to the tunnels underneath. But if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil that series. Moving on to Brothers. And this is one of my favorite characters, as I love lore. Anyone missing Brent Spiner and/or special effects and family was richly compensated in this showcase for both. This was episode 4.3 and premiered October 8th, 1990. Data's long-lost father uses a homing device to summon his creation, little realizing that he will also attract Data's homicidal twin, Lore. And come on, isn't Lore, like, so cool? He's like the evil Data with the sense of humor, and you gotta love Lore. Concept art for the inner workings of a comm badge, as first seen in Brothers. And those have come a long way. Just about every show now has these. This is why I brought you here, Data. Basic emotions. Dr. Soong reveals the emotion clip. I think it was in the movie, was it First Contact, where Data has the chip in him that has the humor, and he's like, he starts laughing, and at the most inappropriate time, and Geordi is like, why are you laughing? He's like, the monkey can stay, or the Ferengi has to go, something along those lines, and he just started cracking up, but there was a problem with the chip. Dana Vitito as Data, Brent Spiner as Lore, and Tim McCormick as Soong, doing rehearsals for Brothers. I love it when they do the special photos on the set behind the scenes. And of course, you can't put all of Brent Spiner on the screen at once. These are going to be cool. It took 4 hours for makeup supervisor Michael Westmore and his team to apply Brent Spiner's Soong prosthetics. The 17-stage process included contact lenses, false teeth, gnarled hands, and what Westmore decided as built-up cranial structure to suggest that he had more brain cells than a normal human. You can see him putting it on Brent Spiner. It almost makes him look like he's Talosian from Talos 4. But not quite there yet. And we have some more sketches. An overhead plan by set designer Joseph Hodges detailing the approach to Soong's laboratory. Hodges' design for the lab entrance through the matching door and the interior set open and external one did not need to be. All right, moving on to Suddenly Human. This was a really interesting episode because what we think of is him, a human, being captured and being tortured and being there against his will, where it actually comes to part where this man had his, well, he's not a man, I forgot the species, but he had his son killed. And as revenge, he took one of his enemy's sons to raise him as his own. And this is where he wants to be. He's not feeling like he's captive or they're against his will. The third in a run of family-focused episodes added a new and notable name to the Star Trek lineage. This is episode 4.4, premiered October 15th, 1990. Captain Picard struggles to bond with a human teenager who has been raised to think himself as Talarian. So that's right, I couldn't remember the race, the Talarians. So he knew him as his father. Everyone on the Enterprise thought that he was being mistreated because he was captured as revenge of him losing his Talarian son. But in fact, he ended up wanting to go back with his father. That was a pretty cool episode. And check out the ship. Rick Sternbach overlaid a copy of this Talarian observation craft design over the Talarian warship concept to demonstrate the difference in size. Both ships were realized by Greg Jean Incorporated using various commercially available model kit parts, including the distinctive prow of the Imperial Star Destroyer from Star Wars. They would reappear in alterations as different ships in more than a dozen episodes. Patrick Stewart assimilates the draft script for Suddenly Human during a break from filming The Best of Both Worlds Part 2. All this for a chosen son, Jean-Luc Picard. This episode is Remember Me. Despite featuring a return of the Traveler, the episode is a star vehicle for Gates McFadden as Beverly Crusher. I like the Traveler. Eric Menyuk makes a second of 3 Star Trek The Next Generation appearances as the Traveler in Remember Me. And he taught Wesley everything that Wesley had known about his talents. This is episode 4.5, premiered October 22nd of 1990. When a routine experiment goes wrong on the Enterprise, Beverly Crusher starts to notice people disappearing from the ship. And only she remembers they had ever existed. You guys remember, eventually, it gets down to the point where it's just her and Captain Picard. And she's trying to explain to the captain how odd it is to have the flagship of the Federation with just a doctor and a captain on it. And it was pretty cool, the way it ended up. She does get back to her own dimension, and she is saved. You can see a lovely shot of Gates McFadden. Gates McFadden on the main engineering set moments before Beverly is trapped in a static warp bubble. You remember when she was really onto it, she said, "Computer, what is the status of the universe?" And the universe was able to tell her the exact dimensions. So she knew right there something was really wrong. Riker, Troy, Data. Let me guess, you've never heard of any of them, right? Beverly Crusher on a Bubble Universe Picard. Oh, and this is like one of my real favorites. Legacy. She always reminded me of Sarah Connor from the Terminator. Her sister. The sister of... Oh, why can't I think of her name? The head of security before Mr. Worf took over. Oh, it'll come to me. Anyway, this is episode 4.6, premiered on October 29th, 1990. Tasha Yar, that's her sister. Okay. The late Tasha Yar's sister comes aboard the Enterprise and quickly earns the trust of the crew. However, her true loyalties lie elsewhere. Star Trek The Next Generation's 80th episode was a TV landmark, but the story made little impact beyond its special effects. And that's one of my favorites. I really, really, really like her. I don't want to kill you, Data, but I will. Urshara Yar. Yeah, don't hurt Mr. Data. And we got more photographs. From top, Sid Dutton's matte painting combined with Dan Curry's 3D foreground and open crater in the 3D model. The cloud of baking soda filmed in isolation. The completed shot is seen on screen. You can see the different layers. And once they add the films together, that's the finished product. It's amazing how they do that. They did the same thing with the Enterprise. They'll film it totally dark in a dark room so they get all the windows lit up. Then they'll film the ship again and they'll superimpose the windows that are lit up on the ship. It's amazing how they do it in layers. But this is one of my favorite episodes, Legacy. You got to check that out. And that is the end of the magazine for, this is STEEN 017MG. Part 63, or Parts Pack 63, the issue. Let's check this out. Look at that, huh? That's metal. I'm going to show you guys the little traces of the Aztecing. But it's going to be like this. And let's see, we have a lot of screws. All right, I can start by these little posts that are going to go into the frame for the secondary hull. And we've got windows. We've got 5 room lights that are on and 5 that are off. And we've got the backings that are going to go on. And we even have a single escape pod. Nice. And we have a packet of BM screws. And we've got a packet of the AM screws. And I think that's everything in this issue. Yep, that's everything in the issue number 63. All right, moving on to packet or issue number 64. We got the phaser array. Actually, let me show you guys that first. You can see highly detailed phaser array. And we've got a packet of the CP screws. And these are the 2 little clips that are going to go in on the nacelle pylons. Okay, the only other part in this kit is the frame. No screws in there, and this is metal. This is really cool. You can see where the what we had just gotten, the bottom is going to go to, and of course on the cells, I'm going to go on top. This is really cool. Man, this thing is going to be awesome. And that is everything that's in this issue, number 64. Okay, now we got parts pack number 65. We've got part of the hull and windows, and we've got the nacelle pylon. Half of it, anyway. Look at that. All right, right off the bat, we've got 2 sets of lights. In each set, you can see 2 lights on it. And these are probably going to light the windows beneath the primary hull. And these have the 4-pin alligator clip. And there are 2 of those. And check this out. Look at the Aztecing. This is going to be so amazing when this is together. I can't wait. And let's see. We've got the usual collection of screws. We got BP screws. And we've got FM screws. And we've got our usual collection of room lights. We have two full trees of the room lights that are on and the room lights that are going to be off. And we got more of the hull. This part is plastic. Let's see if you guys can see that amazing Aztecing. Hopefully the camera picks it up. And we got the backing for it. And there are, it's like 3 lights that are going to go in this section. All right, so that's everything in issue number 65. And finally, we have issue number 66. All right off the bat, you can see we've got the little plugs that are going to hide the screws. And it looks like there are 3 of them. And we've got more of the hull. This is metal. And the Aztecing is a little more prominent on this section. And again, it's going to go like that. Very nice. And we have more. We have the other side of the nacelle pylon. Look how beautiful that is. Of course, it's going to go like that. And we're going to have the phaser array underneath. And look at that Aztecing, huh? Beautiful. NCC-1701-D. If I'm not mistaken, this is the... Let's see, do we have, on the battle bridge, do we have any markings or identification for the Enterprise? I don't think so. I think this is the first marking of the registration number that we see on the part. Actually, nope, I'm sorry. We have Enterprise NCC-1701-D that's on the saucer pylon. All right, we also have a package of screws. We've got more CP screws. And we've got our collection of windows. This time we have 5 room lights that are on and 5 that are going to be off. And it looks like we have backings for the windows. You can see we've got these 2, and we've got this one, which will be for the escape pod, the backing, and we've got, let's see, looks like 2 phaser arrays. One is for the paneling, and this one looks like it's going to go under the nacelle pylon. Nice. Screws, we've got BP, we've got AM. Is that everything? We got one last thing is the escape pod. And that's everything. That's everything that's in issue number 66. Okay, my friends, that is everything that was included in shipment number 17. So we got a big piece of the framing. We have more sections of the bottom of the primary hull. We have both sections, both halves of the nacelle pylon, and it's going to start to really come together, and I'm looking forward to get to the build. So, as I usually do all the time, I'm going to do a complete unboxing to show you everything that comes in a shipment, and then the build video, we're going to go right into the build. That's why I do 2 videos. If you want to see what's in it, you can come back and look at it. And if you want to just see the build, you got the option to go to that. So I'll be doing the build video very soon. And as usual, thank you so much for watching, and take care.